Hey guys, Shanna here. Welcome back to Making Everyday Magic. Today, I want to take a minute and I want to talk with you guys. We are into the end of October. We are officially out of the honeymoon phase of homeschool. Guys, I am about to share with you some hard truths about homeschool. So before we go any further today, as you guys know, I have asked you to DM me on Instagram at. So if you have any questions, you can shoot them to me and I'm going to be trying to answer them in videos. Well, I got a question. How do you avoid burnout? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about how there's just no short answer to this question. So we are making it an entire video. There's no way to easily or quickly answer this question. It has a lot of layers to it. And I feel like right now could be a really good time to discuss that. I think we all just might need it right now. So before we go any further, please scroll down, hit that big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Now, you guys might know from time around here, I would describe myself as a positive person. I genuinely try to look for the bright side in anything that I do. That's just how I operate. And in doing so, while I try absolutely to give you a realistic approach to things, I want to make sure, especially right now, that I'm not overtly sugarcoating things. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you in this video. It's not going to be all bad. It's not going to be all negative. But these are some hard truths about homeschool. They really are, okay? So I'm going to do my best. But by all means, guys, please scroll down and share in those comments the things that are overwhelming you, the struggles that you've had, and the ways that you've overcome them. Because the way that we're going to get through this is as a group. We're going to get through this together because as homeschoolers have got to stick together. We are what we've got. I am certain that by now, 99% of you have started on your homeschool journey for the 2020-2021 school year. This is October 30th today. So more than likely you all have started. And you're all probably a pretty good ways into it. We have already wrapped up our 12th week. You may have already seen my 12-week update. What that means is the excitement is over, right? So the new, the shiny, the honeymoon phase of homeschooling where the curriculum is still fresh and exciting and you're really motivated to get going. All of that has probably started to wane a bit. Not just for you, also for your kids. Now is when it gets hard. These are those parts where I think there's a famous quote that basically says, once motivation is gone, that's when discipline kicks in, something along those lines. And that's where we are now, guys. Now this is kind of more the realistic approach of what homeschool is like. So maybe you've forgotten what the virtual schooling was like. Maybe some of the bad stuff is worn off. You've forgotten how that really felt. The newness of homeschool has kind of started to dull. So now this right now is real life. And it ain't easy. It is not easy. This is quite possibly the worst year to have started homeschooling. Maybe not a popular opinion. I know that the circumstances of 2020 allowed more people to come to homeschooling who may have never would have done that otherwise. But because of that, because of the circumstances of 2020, I do think that this is quite possibly the worst time to start homeschooling. The massive influx led to a lot of curriculum delays, a lot of shortage of supplies. I mean, it was, rivaling the toilet paper there for a bit. This is also the hardest time to start homeschooling because, as you know, number one question everybody gets, socialization. Well, how are you doing that in the middle of this insanity? It's not as easy to get out and make mom friends. It's not as easy to get out and make sure your kids are still having play dates. These times, they are crazy. I really think that these are quite honestly is the hardest year to start homeschooling. The flip side of that is it may be the best year because you don't have anything else to do. Hard truth of homeschooling that you guys have probably figured out. It ain't cheap. So whether it comes down to the cost of literally buying your curriculum or simply your time, having to have a parent, if you guys are both working outside of the home 9 to 5 and homeschooling, I don't even know how you're doing that. Kudos. I mean, really, give yourselves a pat on the back. The investment in homeschooling, both monetarily and with your time, is so large. It is so large. It's such an expensive thing to do that genuinely your family structure has probably changed in accommodating these decisions. It is quite possible that your work life has changed in accommodating these decisions. Your paycheck may have gone down because you're trying to accommodate these decisions. This is hard and it is expensive. It is a big investment from money and time to homeschool. Again, you've probably figured that out by now. But that's a hard truth. Okay, yes, it's really exciting to buy all the curriculum, but then you really have to factor in the cost of those things. The cost of curriculum, and again, the cost of your time. Homeschooling is expensive, one way or another, dollars or minutes. Homeschooling is also something that can very easily be a lonely endeavor, especially for the parent who's home with the kids and actually doing the homeschooling. It is one of those things that can be incredibly isolating if you let it be. And like I said, 2020 is a year when you're gonna have to put in 5 times more of the effort to keep from letting yourself get isolated because of restrictions and closures and things like that. This year, it's gonna be extra important. And as we're getting into the colder months when it's even harder to get outside and do things, it's going to be extra important to make sure that you are getting out. Because if you are doing those things to kind of break up your days and help yourself to socialize, help your kids to socialize, if you can keep doing those things, it will help you mentally and spiritually. You're gonna feel a lot better if you can get out and play with people and talk to people, however you do that. Maybe it's not literally leaving the house. Maybe you're having Zoom play dates. Whatever it is, don't let this become more and more isolating. And like I said, now that we're getting into the colder months, it's a slippery slope and it's really easy to do that. And now that you're in this, you understand it's really easy, nose down to the grindstone, to be just in your house with your family the whole time, especially when you do have so much to do at home. But remember, you gotta get out. It's really, really important to the rest of your well-being. Let's talk about burnout. Burnout is the question I got. How do you avoid feeling burnt out? As the person who is the primary caregiver for my kiddos, and the person who's the primary teacher, my husband absolutely chips in a ton and anytime I ask him to. But it is very easy to feel overwhelmed with all the things you have to do, right? And most times we do put these expectations on ourselves. I do put the expectation on myself to try to keep the house picked up, to make the dinner, to keep the kids happy, but also run my business. There's a lot going on there. It is very easy to feel burnt out and overwhelmed. It genuinely is. Even if you're not homeschooling, just as a mom, because we're women and that's just kind of what we do to ourselves. Unjustifiably, we do. It's common knowledge. It is very easy to feel burnt out, especially now that you're into it a little bit. You're probably past any amount of curriculum that was review or easy to build onto those things where maybe your kids are starting to struggle a little bit. Maybe it is something that's not coming easily to them. Surely by now you've encountered something your kids didn't already know. As they struggle a little bit, as they grow, as they learn, they will be a little bit harder to deal with as they're learning those new things, as things are changing, especially if they're a kiddo who came from public school, who knows what the outside world of education is like. It's very easy for them to feel burnt out and overwhelmed, especially if this is what we're doing all day, every day. It's very easy for that to translate to you feeling burnt out and overwhelmed. And it is possible that you've tried some things so far, a schedule, that maybe just didn't work. But maybe you are hesitant to abandon that and try something else. Maybe you feel overwhelmed with the number of things, the sheer volume of your curriculum, the sheer need to get all of your minutes and your days for record keeping. It is okay to take a breather, to take a step back. Every once in a while, just take some time off. That is what I do in my homeschool to avoid feeling burnt out. I look at our schedule, if at all possible. Again, we're in Texas, so I don't have a lot of the same requirements as far as time and attendance and record keeping. But I look at our schedule. I know when our dance lives get busy, I scale back our homeschool expectations. I can't do it all, guys. I can't do it all. My kids can't do it all. I know that closer to the holidays, I want to have less schoolwork. I want to do more fun things. So I plan, when I'm planning out my entire homeschool year, to take it easier in December. I want to be done by early May. So I plan for that. But I also build in some time where, for example, today we didn't do any schoolwork. And do you know why? Because we didn't want to. And that's okay. We had a lot of stuff that we got through this week, and I told the girls on Wednesday, I think we should take Friday off and we'll do fun things. And here in a little while, we're gonna make pumpkin Play-Doh and it's gonna be amazing. We decorated some pumpkins that we got last night. We are gonna do the fun things because we need to sometimes. Sometimes that fills your bucket, it feeds your soul, and that's okay. Be sure to not become such a stickler for getting the things done, for checking the boxes, that you forget that part of the reason that you chose to homeschool was to do these things with your children, to spend this time with your children. You didn't choose homeschooling so you could spend this time with your students. You chose this so that you could spend those precious minutes with your babies. It is okay to do something fun in those minutes. I promise you, they're gonna learn something when we make Play-Doh in a minute. Maybe it's fractions, maybe it's math, maybe it's just strengthening those little hand muscles so Marilyn can be a better writer soon. Maybe that's all it is, but guess what? It counts, guys. It really does count. Not everything needs to be a worksheet. Not everything needs to be a workbook. And this actually funnels right into curriculum is a tool. That is a tool that you have purchased that is designed for you to use the way you see fit. You are not a slave to the curriculum. If you need to change it, if you need to amend the way you use it, you do that. That is part of the wonderful empowerment of homeschooling. It is up to you how you use it. If it's not serving you, chunk it and get something else. If you think it would be better split up differently, then do that. If you don't want to cover a topic because it makes you feel uncomfortable or your kid already knows it, done. Please remember that curriculum is here to serve you. It is a tool in your process. You are not married to it. You do not have to do everything it tells you to do. You just don't have to. Okay? You simply don't. Something that very easily sneaks into homeschool is competition. Not in a traditional sense that you would think. You're not necessarily measuring test scores against your, another student's test scores, but it's really easy to look at all the things on Pinterest and think, but I'm not doing that in my homeschool. It's really easy to get caught up in some of the conversations with other homeschooling parents. Very rarely are you guys all using the same stuff, so it really is not ever an apples to apples comparison, and it's not anyway because they're kids. Give me a break. Please recognize when the little competition monster has crept into your brain and is laying those little eggs that spring into big ideas, and just send it away. There is no competition here. You are doing what you think is best for your child, and even your children will be on different paths. And that's okay. So block out that competition. It's hard. It really is. In everything that we do in life, it's kind of natural for that to come in. But try to remember not to let it. These are the ways where homeschooling really does start to get hard, because like I said, now we're into it, guys. We're really into it. So the rose-colored goggles have come off. We really are looking around at what is actually happening here. And yes, homeschool is wonderful, guys. It really is. But it is not all easy. And there are some genuinely hard things that you have to tackle as a homeschooler. Something else that I know you guys have come up against at this point is discipline. And we're going to talk about that in a couple different ways. One, you have learned by now that you are either not disciplined enough and maybe need to amp that up so you're actually getting through the things you need to get through, or you maybe need to scale it back, right? You're not a military drill sergeant. Maybe it's okay if some things get to slide. In that way, be sure that your amount of discipline and stick-to-itedness is appropriate. You need enough, not too much. But also, how have you figured out handling your kiddos when they don't wanna? Because by now, I know that you guys have come up with the I don't want us. Whether they simply just refuse to cooperate for a day, or it's a subject that maybe they're struggling in and therefore they're turned off from and just don't wanna. There's a few different ways that I'm gonna recommend that you can handle that. One, just skip it for a little while and come back. It's totally acceptable to do that. Two, maybe it's the switching around that's making it really hard. Maybe we do history on Monday and math on Tuesday and language arts on Wednesday. And those block scheduling, those bigger chunks of time, that's okay. Nobody probably really wants an entire hour and a half of math every day. It's okay to not do that much. It really is. If your kids are having those days where they are just uncooperative, I'm not saying give in to them, because that's a pattern that they will learn, but maybe you just send them away and let them know, you know what, cool, go back to bed. When you're ready to come sit with us and get through this today, you're more than welcome to come back. But until then, you're not derailing our entire day. Schoolwork will happen. Please feel free to go wait in your bed. Go wait on the couch. Go sit over there, have yourself a minute, have yourself a breather. When you're ready, come back. Because let me tell you, if you're frustrated and they're frustrated, there is no learning happening. And if your kids are anything like mine, they will brick wall hard stop everything around them and nothing will be successful or achieved. On those days when it really is a struggle to get them to come back to the table, I absolutely start taking things off. They don't know it, but I am not going to suffer through any more than the absolute bare minimum to prove my point that we're doing schooling every day. Because I don't want this to be torture. I don't recommend making this that hard on yourself or them or anyone. Some days just need to be done, but you need to have won the day. That's okay. Amend it as needed. Use those parenting skills I know you have. Something else that can be really hard to remember in homeschooling, when you send your kiddos to school, right, they kind of graduate. In a sense, right? They go from 3rd grade to 4th grade. And that's like a big milestone. They've progressed, they've made it to that next level. And then once they get out of high school, they've made it to the level of college. The goalpost in homeschool is not the same. There are very less of the measurable progressions. And yes, you absolutely will, move them from one grade level to the next. And yes, they'll graduate and move on to college, but it's not measured quite the same as it would be if they were in public school. If they're in public school, the 3rd grade teacher says, yes, I've graduated my 3rd graders and we've moved them on to 4th. And that's kind of done. When you're homeschoolers, your work is never done, because you are more concerned with the full child, and learning never stops. Progress never stops. So I think there's a big opportunity that's missed because there's not this huge hurrah of finished, right? You're a parent, your job is never finished. It's important to celebrate those smaller wins as they come up because again, there's not like a big final finale thing. You're a parent. Your student will always be your student, even when they move on, because you'll help them with their kids. And there's just kind of not an end in sight in the same way as if they went to a public school. It's very different. So keep in mind when given the opportunity to celebrate those little wins, that there isn't going to be a magical, glistening, golden goalpost at the end. You're just doing your best to make the best little humans you can. Celebrate the little wins. You'll need it, they'll need it, it's gonna fill everyone's bucket, it's gonna help everyone. Now, like I said, we're pretty far into this year, right? If you were so excited and you drank the Kool-Aid and homeschooling is the best thing that's ever gonna happen to your whole family, and now you're in it, and you realize that maybe, given the circumstances of this year, it made you make some decisions that maybe you don't want to stick with next year. That's okay, guys. This isn't easy. Given the alternative virtual schooling, it may have been the easier choice, but it is okay if you are a 1 year and done homeschooler. No one will fault you. No one will shame you. But if you are realizing now that sending your kiddos back to a traditional schooling environment is something you're going to be doing next fall, go ahead and start prepping for that. Make your life a little easier. Make sure that you do know what they need to be prepared with. Make sure if there's any testing you need to line up that you go ahead and do that. There is absolutely no shame in changing your mind. You've done it, you've tried it. It is not for everyone. It is not easy. These are those hard truths about homeschool. No one is gonna view you as a quitter. This job is hard. Parenting is hard enough. Adding another layer of also being a teacher is insane. Lots of us do it. It's crazy. No one faults you if this is not gonna be your path forever. I promise you, if the right choice for you and your kiddo at the time was to homeschool, and now that time has passed and that is no longer the right choice, great. I commend you for having tried it. But it's okay to move on. I'm gonna give you a pat on the back. You did a great job for the time that you did it. Wonderful job. You did great. Your kids did great. Guess what? It's okay to move on. Please do not let any shame shackle you down. And by all means, if you are meant to leave this way of life behind, please don't continue it knowing that it's not for you. That honestly is a bigger travesty than just saying, all right, I'm done now. That's okay. Please, by all means, do that. Now, guys, I have given it to you straight. I've also tried to give you some scenarios where it can still be positive, because guess what? It all can still be positive. But the hard truth is that homeschooling is hard. And like I said, the rainbow sunshiny days of new and exciting have now passed us by. This is real life. So, I hope that you found something here helpful, entertaining, or informative. Please scroll down, turn on that bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and push that button to subscribe. I hope that you guys will scroll down and share in the comments those struggles that you've had and the ways that you've overcome them, and the ways that you have overcome homeschooling burnout. This entire video is answering a question that one of you asked me. So I hope that you found it helpful. If you would also like to submit a question, please go to my Instagram and send it straight to me. I'm trying to answer these questions on the ends of these videos. Thank you so much for coming